Hello, my virtual reality instructors. Bill Ballo here with another tutorial. We're going to talk a little bit about dynamic cardiology, where we were and where we are now. Now, Acadicus has made some amazing updates to the dynamic cardiology scene. You have seen the dynamic cardiology scene. You know the dynamic cardiology scene. You probably love the dynamic cardiology scene, and I'm really glad to hear that. But there are some really cool updates. So let's talk a little bit about where we were. Okay, so if we look at it, here we are in the dynamic cardiology scene. Here is our dynamic cardiology patient. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you some of the ways. These are the ways that we had to do this. Now, you may say to me, hey, Bill, why are you in viewer mode and you're not in VR mode? Well, one of the recommendations to instructors is do most of your work as the instructor from viewer mode. Let your students be in VR mode. Let your students be working on things in there. Only be in VR mode if you absolutely have to, and maybe you're going in there and you're working as a partner or something like that. If you absolutely have to, that's fine. But you can control everything from viewer mode, and it works really great. And in many cases, it'll free up a computer. You may be able to access viewer mode from your sort of regular computer, and this could free up one of your VR computers so that you don't have to be in there. You can maybe have 2 students in there or 3 or whatever you've got, however your assets are set up. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about it. So obviously here in the dynamic cardiology scene, if I wanted to change things, what I did was I went in and I found a value. Let's say I wanted to put the patient into unstable bradycardia, and then I could do that, right? And I could hit it and I could set values. Or if I wanted to maybe change the heart rate a little bit, let's change it to like 67 there. Okay, I could do that, right? And on the fly, this could be a little difficult. And the reason that this could be a little difficult on the fly is because, your student sometimes is moving a little faster and you're just trying to figure out, wait, what did they just say? Wait, hold on. And you don't want to do that, right? You don't want to stop them and say, hey, stop for a second. Let me get caught back up. Okay. Now this was great. Believe me, in the very, very early days, it was all setting vitals by hand. And this, having these preset values was fantastic. So here it is, my stable SVT. Look at that. There it is. You could do that very easily and very quickly. But something even quicker has come in. It is called the dynamic cardiology sequencer. Come with me. Let's go take a look at that. All right, and so here we are, the very brand new dynamic cardiology simulation sequencer. Okay, the nice thing about the sequencer is that it's more of a set it and then just kind of keep hitting the next button to move it to the next piece, okay? And I'll show you how that works. Now, I do have it in the room. I actually put it physically in the room so that you could see that if you are in VR, and not just in viewer mode like I am right now, but if you are in VR, you can absolutely have it in there, and then you don't have to keep opening your simulation manager because you can hit the buttons right here on this sequencer that you can have in the room. And you can also make this invisible to your students. Now, if you don't know how to do that, you got to check one of my other tutorials to see how to make things invisible. Okay, and here it is right here. This is the dynamic cardiology sequencer. Now, I brought this up in the simulation manager just so you could kind of see a little bit better what's going on. Now, you'll notice this will change up here along with any changes that I make to the sequencer here in the simulation manager. So I'm going to use this just in the simulation manager for now. You can see the values up here. Okay, and I'll kind of change my view just a little bit. You can see the values up here. We're in the bedroom. I decided to put him in the bedroom just so that you can see this asset. This whole thing can be moved to any different position, place, whatever you want it to be. There's a bathroom back over there. If you wanted to try to put it in there, you absolutely could. It can be moved anywhere that you want it to be. Okay, so the way the simulation manager works is you actually go through and you select what sequence you want to do. So let's say you want to do unstable SVT to VFib to PEA to return a spontaneous circulation. You can absolutely do that. Unstable bradycardia, right? You get the idea. There are 5 different sequences here that you can choose from. Once you have chosen a sequence, let's say I'm going to do unstable bradycardia to PEA to asystole to return a spontaneous circulation. I select that one, and as soon as I select it, then I can hit begin sequence. When I hit begin sequence, you notice all of my values automatically change on my monitor. Okay? And so now the student is going through and they're doing everything they need to do for unstable bradycardia, and we want to move to the next stage. And the next stage is we're going to go into PEA. So now you just hit the stage button. Boom, that's it. You go to stage 2, and there you go. And you can kind of control that. You can say, well, I don't want to go just at this moment because I want to see them give a medication, and then they give it, and you're like, okay, now we can move on. You can also stay in that stage as long as you want if the student is not doing what they need to do in order to move to the next stage. Okay, and there we go. You can hit stage again and stage again, and they're finally back to return of spontaneous circulation. Okay. The other thing that you will note down here is that there's a performing CPR button. Now, the performing CPR button, when I hit that, that will change some of my values in my end tidal CO2, right? So you can see like your end tidal CO2 is at 15. You've got sort of that CPR style waveform. Okay, that's going to change just a little bit when you're hitting perform CPR. Okay. All right. So when you are all done with the sequence and you want to start over, right, you can just hit reset sequence. And there you go. You're all the way back to the beginning again. And you can now choose which sequence you want. Let's say we're going to do unstable VTAC. And then that one's going to go into VFib, and we're going to go into PEA and return to spontaneous circulation. And I can hit begin sequence, and there you go. It's set. It's ready. It's there. When you are in VR, if you want to have this in front of you so that you can just point at it and go click, and you can make all your choices, and then you can hit your staging there, you can absolutely do that. Some people, the simulation manager can sometimes get in your way a little bit when you're in VR, and you have to move it around, and that's okay. But if you're in VR, you can actually just take this and stick it right onto the wall or something like that. I just put it hanging out here in the air, and you can do that, and then you'll have that right there in front of you. And again, you can make this invisible to the student, so the student will not see it, only you. Okay? Only you. And that's, there you go. The dynamic cardiology patient himself still has all of those same, possibilities. You can trigger his dizziness there, right? All of those same controls are there, and you can change the vitals still on the fly. So for example, if you say, well, listen, all right, 220, I don't really want that. Let's move that back to 204, right? You can absolutely do that. Even though you're within the sequencer, you can change those values on the fly still. So if you say, well, I don't think his end tidal CO2 would be quite at 40, let's change that. You can absolutely change that. You can change it to suit your own scenarios. If you have your own scenarios, you can change it to suit your own scenarios. Okay? And the preset values are still there as well, so you can still use those and you can still change those. But that sequencer, boy, is that going to make things a lot easier. Woo! Great stuff coming from Acadicus. More great stuff coming from Acadicus. Keep an eye out for more tutorials coming. Hey, I got to show you how to use the birthing simulator. Man, that thing is just unbelievable. And sort of works like a sequencer too. Really cool. All right, well, thanks for coming to this this brief tutorial. Again, Bill Ballo, it's always good to see you. And come on back and let's do some more of these. Thanks a lot.